Thank you very much, Harold. We now have some time for questions. Our normal custom is to invite working journalists, as distinct from bludgeoning journalists, to ask the first questions, but on this occasion, Harold might invite...
Now, we've got some wonderful people. We all started this part of our life from Kilvington Grammar. Where are the people from Kilvington Grammar? Where are they? Put your hands up, girls. Right over the back. Now, you can imagine if you're, I don't know, teenager, can't tell anymore, something like that. Now, Sarah, stand up, Sarah. This is going to be touchy. Sarah's going to ask me a question. I think I know the question, but not the answer. Sarah, have a go at it. This is everyone with it. Now, just go, Sarah. Well, for those that didn't hear it, she asked me before, so I knew what that was. What was it that made me decide to begin my career in the media? And in fact, that's easy. I'd grown up in a little country town, been a tough old life in lots of ways, not mine as unusual, a lot of others, and I used to listen to the radio, and that was how I found out what was going on, I thought, outside. In those days with AM radio, the signal would bounce off the clouds, and so you could pick up radio for night time from a long way off. In fact, I used to listen to Sydney radio stations. It was installed in country Victoria, and so 2UE and 2GB would bounce off the clouds, and I'd hear it from there, and I couldn't believe these incredible people out there that it was. And so I decided to get into radio. I wrote the usual 50 letters to someone to say I wanted to be in radio, but I've still got 50 letters back saying no, you can't. And so I thought, I know what I'll do. In fact, I had another job which wasn't so hot, I can tell you. It was a labourer in a sawmill in the country, but I got a job as an office boy here in an advertising agency. My dad didn't know what it was. He's 91, he still doesn't know what the heck it is. And so I thought, that's it. I'll get into advertising, and 6 months later, I'll get into radio. Well, I never did. The two office boys before me, one was Philip Adams, who says it never really happened, and before him, Fred Skepsey. But it was an incredible journey over a long period of time in the city of just great creativity, because so often really good people would, in the arts and elsewhere, would do okay, and then they wouldn't have enough money, so they go back to advertising. And so I did things like driving Peter Carey to work, because Peter's wife had the car, so that was that. And so I still can't read any of Peter's books. He's gone on to be sort of a great author, as we all know, because he used to talk all the way in. I know every story he's ever done. So I got into advertising like we so often did in those days, by accident. And these days it's better, as I said. You girls stayed the course, do what you do, go off to RMIT, one of the best teaching institutions in the world, I might say, for our business, and turn them out like that. And you have got something that a lot of the people in this room really didn't have, which is a choice to make. And I wish you well with it.
Thank you.
All right, I might also mention we've got a couple of roving mics, so if you have a question, please wait for a mic, and if you could identify yourself when you ask your question. Do we have a question? You've stunned them. Well, while people are considering, I might dive in with a... Oh, sorry.
Actually, do tell the story. Yeah.
Harold, I'm not sure if there's been a decision this morning. Shane Healy, by the way, read the Optus case. There has. My question was going to be, how are you reading that will go? Now that there has been a decision, can you tell people like me who don't know yet what happened and what you think?
Running through our W, you're quite right. I told a good host that no one ever asked me questions, which is fine because it's scary, because I never know what I'm going to say. But something very interesting. Shane, at a function like this, was doing a nighttime show at 7 o'clock, driving home, and good on the radio, Shane is, I've heard him, and he's okay. And he said, would you mind popping in one night? And I thought, it's 7:05, I thought, that's really good. Yeah, I'll do that on the way home, and 5 minutes on the radio, I can handle it, and off I go. So I walk into the studio, and we sit down, and it's Shane, nice to see you, and he's all settled in, and he said, well, we're back after the news, and I can say that I've got Harold Mitchell in the studio tonight, and it's a great pleasure to have you, Harold. So, hello, Shane. And we're here through till 8 o'clock. And I thought, my God. And and so he said, so tell us about things. So I took Shane back to when I was, I think, I saw his eyes roll back. Well, Shane, it's a story that started way back when I was 4. and I went on from there. So we often laugh about that. So that's a good thing to laugh about. But what is changed, in fact, we were talking about this a moment ago, is that the world has been moving so quickly that we're talking about. If there's a thrust of what I've been saying is it's an incredibly quick world. It's a great place to be looking at it from. Don't be frightened by the rest of the world. Grab hold of the opportunity in every way. What had happened was the clever technicians that are out there, Google right now, have increased their technicians from people inventing things, I might say, from 50,000 to 75,000. They just want to invent things you can do with every bit of this digital world, and that's why they're ahead of the game, because they're prepared to invent, they're prepared to make a mistake. You know, not too many people in business or life are like that. They're just careful about it. And so the next little invention is out there, which is that Optus, and everyone has got one if they want to do it, has found a way to grab hold of all of the live sports that just are out there in the ether, grab hold of it, and with a 2-second delay, turn it around, and so you can watch anything that you would have paid for on Foxtel or elsewhere for nothing. And that didn't seem quite right, because the fabric of everything that goes on in sports is that someone's got to pay for it, and the viewers pay. They pay via various ways, but sporting rights are a very big thing, and so they found a way around it and like that. So what happened, Shane, was it went to the court. I understand the judgment was against it. It was overturned, and so it's back to the good old days. But that particular, every judge, I'm told, wants to be into the IT space because you get a headline, and it's a big thing like that. And in this particular case, got the headline, of course, but also possibly got it wrong, and it's been changed from there. So that's an example of just what's happening in our life and our world. It's just changing so dramatically, so quickly to what it is.
Question from the floor? I might ask one myself, if I may. A burning question for many of us in the newspaper game, what still primarily is the newspaper game, although things are changing very quickly. What, notwithstanding the figures and slides that you've shown, what's your expectation for the lifespan of newspapers as we know them today, and if they will evolve, what sort of evolution do you anticipate?
Yeah. Well, that's clearly happening right in front of us. It's too dramatic to say, well, it's all over, but it is, as we know it. But we shouldn't be concerned about that. Is the printing of the news. I love reading newspapers. I'm old-fashioned. I do all that. I know I can look at it on anything, and I do. But the fact is that doesn't fit the modern life. That people just don't want to do it. And so the printing, the great big printing presses that were there, they're not needed. And in fact, in Australia, it would be clever to amalgamate those and just say, well, you know, someone else can print all the stuff for us. But that isn't the end of what this is all about. Because the big things that have come out of the media companies has been ideas, and this is good. We have a man hero of us all, Claude Farrell, over in the corner. Put your hand up, Claude. I knew I'd make a hero of you. Claude has been doing many things, but I often will say he wrote that editorial inside The Age, and it was about ideas. And that's really what it is, about great writing, about great ideas. Times have changed, of course, because the 8,000-word piece hardly ever happens anymore, but the shorter one, the quicker one, and it's about ideas. So newspaper companies and media companies shouldn't be concerned. They should simply change to what they are, which is the modern world. As I said, this is the biggest change that's happened in our lifetime and probably in history since the printing press. Just get used to it. It's happened so quickly. It's happened since the mid-90s, was about where it was. As we know, that it started to change about 2000 or so, when we got into the digital business, when Google was still mucking around in different ways, and it's been reinvented in so many ways. Just how important that has been as the economy. I mentioned before about America. Less than 5% of the world's population had owned all of the 20th century, with 25% of the world's wealth at that time. Those of you that might remember the early 70s, when it had stumbled again. The Vietnam War had been a great problem. The savings and loan scandals in America, it was not in good shape. And in every way that probably should have been over. But America reinvented itself. It reinvented itself out of Silicon Valley. And if we talk about Apple and Google and everything, that was the next 25 years of the great wealth of America. Now it's run on from there, but I don't think America's got it to do that all over again. What we do know is that a creative society is a highly educated society. It's a well-motivated society, which is what everything that happened around Stanford University very much in what happened there. It's got every chance of happening here. that I'm about to take on a fairly big role of something to do in mental health research, and where we have the 4th biggest mental health research institute in the world, which I think we can move to be number 3 or number 2. But that'll only be because of people, and I know it's because there are a lot of people all around the world who want to come and live here. They want to come and live here. I'm chairman of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, and we're about to make an announcement quite soon about some new innovations there. It'll come of people who are prepared to come to this city. And so it was in America. It's like that, which is why I'm an incredible optimist about where we can go from here. I do know that we are struggling in some part with some of it, but anyway, I'm an incredible optimist of what goes forward from here. I'd like to live another 70 years and do it all. I won't. So our competitors are very happy about that, I won't say. But I just know that we're in an incredible place right now to do things. Oops, sorry about it. Lady up the back.
Harold, Janet Whiting from Cause.
Sorry.
I'd just like your views on the Leveson inquiry and what impact, if any, you think it will end up having on Australia, and whether or not the sort of Finkelstein view versus the a beefed up press council is where we'll end up.
Janet's a lawyer. but also an old mate. You thought a tricky thing, you didn't tell me you were going to ask me that. I worry about inquiries, even though I've just run a major review for Simon Crean and the federal government, because you can start to have third persons on top of a free society we've got. So I'll leave aside the Leveson one, but again, the dangerous territory in one way, but the Finkelstein one, which was basically said we almost need Big Brother all over the top of what we are, and we should control it, and we should everything. No, we don't. Australia is an incredible place. I live in the public life, as you well know, and if you're out there in the public life, the public own you. Just get used to it. And I've got to tell you, having the biggest ad business in the country, 4,000 plus clients, if something goes wrong in Today Tonight or a current affair, all of those things, even though we've got a turnover of $2 billion or something, thank goodness that doesn't mean a thing to anyone who's involved in the media in this country. I can't influence what goes into the pages or involved in the media in any way, and that's a good thing to do. And to think that, as has been mentioned by some inquiries, that we need to control the press, no, we don't. We need to have Australians who are able to control themselves, and that's in fact exactly what we got. And we are confident enough, we should be confident enough to handle that. If we're not confident about ourselves, we'll put controls on top of it. This is a wonderful, wonderful free society. Incredible country. We have over 200 different nationalities that make up Australia. We're the most multicultural nation on earth. And out of the diversity of all of those people that come together is a great level of freedom. People want to come here. They want to come here because we're free. If we start to make the press less free, it won't be the same place like that. So I've been happy to publicly speak out against anything like that. At the same time, we need to understand who and what we are and how we handle it. I haven't seen a better example of that, I'd have to say, than recent times. One of our clients said to me, we've got an office in South Melbourne, some of you might know. It's got 3 stories of car park underneath. I had a good look at that car park, I should say, but a client said to me there weren't enough spots for clients. They're probably always saying that. And so I said, I'm going to go and look at it. There weren't. But I walked around the 3 stories and I thought, this is really boring. It's a car park. So we've just turned out in the last 3 months over the weekends the most incredible 3-story car park in the world. We got 75 great, they call street artists, graffiti, and it is filled with graffiti. It's one of the most spectacular car parks you've ever seen. We've had to lock the doors because people used to go in and look at it. The reason I say all of that is there's these graffiti artists, all the stuff they're doing out there, and they know me. I didn't make any rules, no rules, but I can tell you it is perfectly okay for the family. There's nothing about religion, there's nothing about sexism, there's nothing about politics. They respected who and what we are, and I think that's not a bad test of who Australia is like that. And I think that's probably the best way that we can deal with the media. Now, and sometimes someone will do the wrong thing, but I think that gets out ahead of it. I know Lewis Martin is here too. If you've got someone on air who actually goes out and does the wrong thing, usually they'll get hauled back, sometimes sacked on the spot, so we're okay.
Harold, Nicola Mendelson Communication. Really enjoyed your presentation. You tantalised us earlier, saying that you knew or you had some ideas about what some of the next big things that were going to be happening, and I'd love to hear about some of them.
Not telling you. Well, I'll tell you later on. I'll tell you a couple about it later on, but I'm not going to do it here. When I said that, I thought I bet someone asked that, but so you're quite right. But they won't all work. But there's a couple there that are big zingers, I've got to tell you. It took me about 40 years to work out what all those slides are all about and how that's how I made 300 million. But you know how you do it? You've got to wait the first 40 years, otherwise you can't do it. But well, I'll talk to you later on. Good try. I'm going. One more.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ed Gannon from the Weekly Times. There's a number of newspapers now charging for content, online content. I'm just interested in your views of how do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, and it's exactly what they should do, and how scary is that? Because nothing's free. It's true that advertising, as you saw from all of the material I put up there, is going to run a lot of it, but in the end, some things you've got to pay for. The big thing, and there's a bit of pushback from all of this, which is what happens if no one turns up and they won't pay. The other thing is what happens to bad pieces that nobody wants. And this is fantastic, because what it means is, like, I live in a world every day where all our clients are going to sack us tomorrow. My managing director over here just died, but they won't. Skashi, don't worry. But I'm happy with that. Over a long period of time, I was happy to test ourselves continually that we didn't want a contract with the client. We weren't good enough, well, they could sack us. Back to the question, which is about charging for online content. What this means, if you're really good, people want to read you. And if you're not, they won't. And that's not a bad test of everything. In fact, there's no free lunch. In fact, that's the only way it is. And it might have been that there were some people hiding within a great big organisation, newspaper, radio, whatever it might have been, where the measure wasn't quite like that. But the digital world has done a couple of things. It has made everything noticeable and measurable and responsible. And that's exactly what it should be in every way. The other thing is that the digital business, our whole media industry had been one way. That is, the pictures went out, the radio went out, or the newspaper went out, and you responded by ringing up or going to the store or doing something. The digital world has meant that it's absolutely two-way. That we say something to you, you say something back to us, and we know exactly what it was, one by one by one. And so paid for content is going to happen, and if you're not very good at it, you won't have a job.
Okay. Another? At the back.
Leo Rauschberger. Thanks, Harold. You mentioned Google a few times, how they've certainly cemented their place in the search market. I was wondering your perspective on Facebook, with an audience of about 850 million users, and how they'll overplay in the advertising marketplace.
Sure. Well, it's what I was saying before about the fact that the media is now so open in every way like that. I personally, I try not to get involved with Facebook. I think it'll take up too much time, but it's just what it is. It's just people gossiping, and I think that's been going on for about 5,000 years. It just got smarter, quicker, and much more noticeable, and it is what it is. It's what I say, that the public are all over everything now. As I was saying, I was at a dinner last night where there were some complaints about the 24-hour news cycle and how you can't do this or hide or anything like that. There is nowhere to hide, not such a bad thing. But at the same time, we've got to understand some general rules about it, and that wouldn't be a bad thing to do. I have a bit of a feeling that we're going to press on a bit further than that. Sometimes I think the media are probably not doing the best thing. I hear that one or two of our big organisations have got a floor full of people who are just into Facebook where they can find something stupid was just said. It probably says don't say anything stupid. It's not a bad idea to do it. So we're not going to roll this one back. I can tell you that that's the world that's out there, and it's not such a bad place to be. Oh, Rod, how are you, Rod? I thought I was going to escape in a minute, but the last question.
I probably don't need this.
You want to stand up? You came to Melbourne to be a ruckman for Richmond, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, quite right.
Thanks, Harold. After all these very important questions, I've got one probably to finish off with.
Good.
I love reading your articles in The Age. Who is Louise?
Well, thank you for that. Or Charlie. A while ago, I had a whole lot of different things, and I had to vote Labor or Liberal, and I couldn't work out, so I decided I'd vote both. So I invented a lady called Louise. I'll tell you this. Louise is broadly based on a lady who's the wonderful, wonderful lady, Louise Adler. Do you know Louise? Probably. Yeah, it's got to be Louise. Louise is a credible lady. She runs Melbourne University Press, does it brilliantly, is super clever. and keen to always point that out to me. She convinced me to write a book. That's all very good. And so there is actually broadly a Louise, and there is a Charlie, and there's a man called Charlie Nelson, and Charlie is very, very clever. Quite often they're surprised to find they said something in the paper because they made it up, but there is something out there. By the way, it's an old trick from about 100 years ago. People used to write columns. There was an alter ego or someone else like that. So there is a Louise.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Harold, for yet again a very thought-provoking, informative address. It's been terrific, and thank you for your time. We often struggle to find an appropriate gift to give our guest speakers, and we've settled on this. I understand that according to your staff, you don't have this in your library. I don't know whether you do. If you do, you could always turn it into a door stopper, and when you trip over it, remind yourself that the printed word is not quite dead yet. Steve Jobs is biography. Thank you very much.